Hey guys, so I have decided to put together this series, I guess, if you want to call it, um, where I'm just going to share my experiences um, with what's happening in the advertising world, um, you know my opinions in terms of where I see things going, and just generally what I've learned across my 4.5 years working in the advertising space. So I really wanted to like get my get my thoughts across and really share my experiences. And I just thought, you know what, why not just record myself, you know, 30 minutes or however long it goes, just sharing those experiences. So call it a podcast, call it a rant, call it whatever you want. But this is what this series is. It's just me sharing my experiences, and hopefully you can learn a thing or two. That's my goal. But before I get into that, who am I? So I'm Adrian, and as I said, I've been working in the digital advertising space. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I think digital advertising is now just advertising, really. So I've been working at an advertising agency for around 4.5 years here in Australia, in Sydney. It's a large independent agency, and I've worked across many accounts from ecom to allied health to SaaS to a lot. And my role is a performance manager or director or whatever you want to call it. I pretty much oversee a portfolio of accounts. And yeah, I see a lot. So I've 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 written down like just a lot of points throughout the week that can be topics for this series. It's really gonna branch from not just like Google Ads but everything. So I have direct experience across all channels, even in the programmatic space, which is, I think that's something that a lot of people don't really speak about on YouTube, like BVOD, CTV, out of home media and stuff. And I think that's a really interesting space that, I think needs needs more people speaking about that. This is definitely growing, and it's really exciting. So yeah, if you think it's just going to be like Facebook advertising or digital or Google Ads or TikTok, no, it's not. It's going to be like a lot of different channels. So with that being said, the topic for this video is going to be what not to do when you inherit a Google Ads account. So I just got 4 new Google Ads accounts join the agency, or come under my direct oversight, or management, if you want to call it. And they're large accounts. They belong to one like group, if you want to call it. And I was going through the account, and I just realized, like, oh, there's so many things that I wanted to do, but I just knew if I did them, it would stuff everything up. And that's what I want to speak about. So, um, I'm sure you've been there. I'm sure you've gone and you've gotten a new account, and you're excited, and you want to just restructure everything, right? And I've been there, done that many times, and it's failed many times. And so, early on, probably like I'd say the first 2 years of my career was very much just PPC, so just Google Ads. And it's not only it's only been kind of relatively recent, maybe the last 2 years, where we've now kind of branched out to full funnel, whatever you want to call it, social, programmatic, etc. Um, but in the beginning, I was very much just like a Google Ads, specialist. And Google Ads specialists are very like, I don't know, they're very data driven. Definitely, it's what I've noticed. Paid social specialists are more like creative, makes sense, right? But PPC specialists so data driven. It's like the numbers, the numbers, the numbers, right? So yeah, early on when I would get new accounts, what I would do, and I still see this, this is, it's, not to say there's anything bad about it. It's just experience. I see a lot of kind of junior specialists do this a lot still. Um, and it's getting an account and wanting to restructure the whole entire account. And so I would do that early on, right? I'd literally, I'd get an account and I'd look at it and I'd be like, this is just structured terribly. Terribly. It's so bad. I'd look at it, I'd be like, brand is with generic, like it was just bad, right? Like there was so many, there was so much cannibalization, the multiple match types, you know, in the same ad group, and just fundamentally everything would be wrong with this particular account, right? And your first immediate thought is to, as I said, just go in and restructure everything. Create a new architectural strategy, create your new campaigns, ad groups, ad copy, ad extensions, go into Google Ads Editor and just launch that thing. And that's what I do, right? So I remember, many times I would do that, right? And then obviously you started on manual CPC and you wait to collect the data, right? But what would happen more than once is I'd launch it, I'd be so excited, right? And then, 2 weeks or even a month later, but we'll say 2 weeks, the client is kind of saying, hey, performance has dropped. What is going on? And then, of course, you'd be like, oh, no, we just launched new campaigns. We're in the learning phase. You got to give it some time and, all of that stuff, which is true. Don't get me wrong. But also part of it was I was worried. Like, I honestly didn't know what was going on. And I was like, oh, shit, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? What's going on? And fast forward to now, and I do not do that anymore. And it's because of one fundamental concept or principle I've come to learn. And now I tell all, junior specialists this straight away because it's unfortunately just true. And that is an account that is very poorly structured, that has lots of conversion data, will always outperform a well-structured account with no conversion data. And that's the issue. So you launch a campaign, you launch a new structure, but the issue is you've just gone, you've paused all the keywords, all the campaigns that had, years or months of conversion data. Even if it's structured poorly, you've just gone and paused all of those keywords, and now you're expecting your new campaigns to perform better. It's never going to happen because you're essentially starting out fresh. Of course, you have account level data, but like more or less those campaigns are now starting out fresh because you've just gone and paused all of the stuff that had data in it. And that's the issue, right? That's the issue. And so, these 4 new accounts that I just recently got, terrible, structured terribly, cannibalization everywhere, just all of the issues that you always get with new accounts, had them all. But the one thing I know it had, and it did definitely have, was just years of conversion data. And I knew if I just go and I pause all this stuff and restructure it and launch a new structure and, it will backfire. And, this client, you just can't afford to do it. Like, you just can't afford to do it. And the other thing is, what I'm noticing, and this is more recently, like, 3 years ago or 2 years ago, this was definitely the approach. You would want to start your campaigns on manual bidding and, collect data and all of that stuff, right? But what I'm seeing more and more, unfortunately, is manual bidding just can't compete. It just can't. And this is the issue because if let's just say you're using manual bidding and another advertiser is using maximize conversions, right? You both enter the auction. You're bidding obviously on the same keyword. The advertiser that goes in with a manual bid of $10, let's just say, right, will get outbid by the advertiser using smart bidding or maximize conversions. If the advertiser using maximize conversions, Google believes, or the bidding model believes, that user has a very high chance of converting based on their audience signals across, Google, that bidding model, that smart bidding model, is simply just going to bid more by $1 or by how much it needs to bid more to acquire that customer to win the auction, because it wants to win that user because it knows the chance of them converting is very, very high. The user that's using manual bidding, or the advertiser using manual bidding, will never ever compete. It will always get outbid. The only conversions that manual bidding will win is, well, it's one of two, I'd say. The first one is or not really, actually one or two. I'd say the only time manual bidding will win is if you're in like, well, there's two actually. Sorry, there's two. If you're not in a very competitive industry, right, and you don't have a lot of other advertisers, then fair enough, you'll probably win because there's not many other advertisers. Reality is though, Google ads, every industry is competitive, and it's only increasingly becoming more competitive. So that's the first scenario. Second scenario is if Google doesn't believe that person has a high chance of converting. So what I mean by that is, let's just say that's the first time that user has let's say that's the first time that user has searched up or has searched up that particular keyword. It's their first it's their first search in their customer journey, right? It's the first search in this industry, right? Google doesn't have any signals on them. They don't have any signals. Google doesn't know if this person is going to convert. So therefore, since it doesn't know if this person is going to convert, because this is the first time they've searched up a keyword, or they've searched up anything in their consumer journey or customer journey for that product, Google is not going to run the risk of showing up or showing your ad. If you're using smart bidding, if you're using maximize conversions, especially if you're using a target CPA, it's not going to run the risk if it doesn't believe it will win that conversion. And it can't. It will never know, because that's the first time that user has searched up anything. So it doesn't have any audience signals on that user. However, this advertiser using manual bidding doesn't care. It's manual bidding. So if they go in with a $10 bid, and obviously Google has decided not to participate in this auction for this user because all of the advertisers using smart bidding, Google doesn't believe this user is going to convert, it's not going to enter the auction. So this user this advertiser that's using manual bidding is going to win the auction. And if this person just happens to actually be have very high intent, regardless if it's their first interaction, regardless if it's their first search in their customer journey, well, that advertiser is going to win the conversion. That's like the only times it's going to work. And this, again, brings me back to the present, right, today. If you went and for example, if I went and I restructured this entire account, right, and just, launch new campaigns, what most people would do, and what I would do probably, well, not anymore, but I would have done this like 2 years ago, is I would have started on manual bidding. And this is the issue. That one change would absolutely tank your account, because you've just gone from leveraging smart bidding in your account and leveraging all the conversion data in your account to now literally starting fresh. And as I said, you can't compete with smart bidding. And especially this particular industry, it's incredibly competitive, right? You're screwed. You're screwed. Like you just are, right? So that's why you wouldn't want to do that. You definitely would not want to do that, right? So that's what not to do, and I've trust me, I've learned the hard way. I've done it a bunch of times, and I remember I did it, and then I decided, well, I panicked, right? This is what, definitely years ago. I'd panic and I'd be like, oh no, I've got to revert back to the old structure, and I'd launch or relaunch like one old campaign that had lots of conversion data that was using maximized conversions, and overnight or in a few days, conversions just started rolling in again. And I remember thinking, okay, I get it, yeah. Like, an account that is poorly structured with conversion data will always outperform a well-structured account with no conversion data. That was the point where I realized that, and now I never do that. Never ever do that. Trust me, don't do it. That's the best way to stuff everything out, stuff everything up, especially if you have a new account. All right, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So instead, well, you might be thinking, well, what do you do? Like, what do you do when you inherit a new account? Well, this is what I'm doing at least. So you want to go into the account, right? And first of all, you want to identify the campaigns that are actually generating value. This is a big point, right? Very big point. The number one, I will say this today, and this is my opinion, this is from my experience, the number one optimization that you can make on day one that will make the biggest change is budget allocation. Budget allocation is so important. It's crazy. I'll go on an account, I won't even really make any changes. All I'll do is just spend more money on the campaign that is generating the conversions, and spend less on the campaigns that aren't generating the conversions. And believe it or not, what do you know? Your conversion is increased by 50%. So that's the first thing, budget allocation. A very easy way of doing it is just like download your campaigns across the last 6 months. All you want is cost, conversions, and CPO if you want as well. And then just like you just want to find the contribution percentage of each campaign in terms of conversion volume. So just go like campaign one conversions, so the conversions of that particular campaign divided by total conversions in the account. Do it for all of your campaigns, and it will tell you the conversion contribution for each campaign. Okay, do the same for cost. So do the exact same thing for cost. So campaign cost divided by total amount spent in the account, and it'll give you the cost, the proportion of spend that's been or proportion of budget that's been allocated to each account. And then what you want to do is you want to go through it, and you'll see like maybe campaign one has a conversion contribution of like 20%, right? But it's been getting like 10% of the budget. And then you go down to like campaign two, and you see the contribution percentage is like 5%, and it's been getting like 30% of the budget. And you're like, well, like that makes no sense. It's just stupid. So all you do is you get the actual monthly budget, and you create a new column, and then you do and then you basically allocate budget based off the conversion contribution of each campaign. So then you would go and you'll be like, campaign one will get allocated 20% of the total budget because that's the conversion contribution, and you do that for each campaign. I got taught this very early on in my career by a colleague, and that has stuck with me to this day, and it is like the most powerful optimization you can make in an account, especially from day one. That's the first thing you want to do, and I promise you it will make the biggest impact. Okay, second thing you want to do is you want to have a look at like obviously the structure, right? So you do want to go in there and you want to have a look at cannibalization. You want to have a look at like, are the same keyword in multiple campaigns, and like you want to look at all of that stuff, of course, right? And you want to go through it, and you want to see, all right, well, campaign one Well, campaign A has the same keyword as campaign B, and they're both targeting the exact same thing. All right. So then you'll be like, well, like, is this stuffing things up? And you might see campaign one or campaign A has better conversion or better performance for that particular keyword. You can pause the keyword in campaign B. That is obviously very, very easy stuff, right? Now, I can go through the easy stuff that everyone knows, right? Like, obviously conversion tracking, the basics, right? Obviously make sure conversion tracking is right. All of that stuff. But I wanna mention, I guess, more high level or advanced stuff to actually do in a campaign in an account that's actually going to thread the needle. That first one, I promise you, will make the biggest difference. Second thing, okay, this is more of a not what to do. Segmentation. Okay. Oh, okay. This is another thing that I've learned from experience. Segmentation. There's a scenario when to segment, and there's a scenario when not to segment. And I'm going to give you both of the scenarios, okay? Scenario one is when not to segment. And this is what a lot of people do. I've done this many times, and I've learned not to do it. So let's just say in a campaign, you've got a keyword that's generating like, let's say 20 conversions a month, okay? And it's like the best keyword, okay? Like, it's the best keyword. Then you've got like other keywords in the account that's, generating 3 conversions, 2 conversions, a lot of 1 conversions, 5 conversions here or there, right? But nothing like 20 conversions. The logical thing, and I will say this actually makes 100% sense, complete sense. Why wouldn't you do this? The logical thing is, let me just pull out that keyword and put it in another campaign, or let me segment everything else out of the campaign and leave that keyword in the campaign. Makes sense. Segment. You wanna segment out high performing keywords, or you wanna segment out things that are performing well. Fair enough. And you might have done this. You go and you do it, and next day or next week you realize, holy shit, the account's tanked. Conversions have dropped by 30%. And like, I don't know, like, why has this happened? Like, this makes no sense. I've just like you panic, right? And well, let me explain why. It's because conversion data. It's data. Google loves data. That's all you need to know, and it actually loves data at a campaign level. Okay, and what happens is, keywords actually leverage data at the campaign level. Okay, so what I mean by that is, those keywords that have minimal conversion data, they're actually leveraging off the keyword that has a lot of conversion data. So when you segment out, you're actually negatively impacting those low performing keywords, because they're only getting like 1 or 2 conversions here and there, right? And so they don't have a lot of data really. All the data is coming from that one keyword, and those other keywords are leveraging the data from that main keyword. So when you pull the keyword out, those low performing keywords no longer have data to leverage from that high performing keyword. So therefore you will see most of the time those keywords significantly get impacted, and that campaign would just absolutely, like, it would do really bad. Additionally, the same thing happens with that high performing keyword. Okay, that high performing keyword, believe it or not, is actually leveraging off the low performing keywords. Consolidated data is better than segmented data, basically, is what I'm saying. If you have one campaign that has a combined data pool of like 30 conversions, even if 20 of those conversions are coming from one campaign or one keyword, believe me, it's better just to keep it in one campaign than going and segmenting it out. It won't work because of that one principle. Google operates, well, it doesn't operate, but it stores data at a campaign level, and the entire campaign, everything in that campaign, leverages off that campaign level data. It's very powerful. The only time when you can segment is like if it genuinely makes sense. And what I mean by genuinely makes sense, if one keyword has like 200 conversions, like that keyword is killing it. I mean, killing it. Okay. And the other keywords maybe have like, I don't know, 100 conversions, then fair enough. It makes sense. Like if you have that much data, you can segment. But do not, and I mean do not segment, please, if you only have like 50 conversions at a campaign level, and especially if those conversions are split like that, where it's like one keyword has 80% or 70% of the conversions and everything else has 2, whatever. It won't work. It won't work because of that. And performance would drop. So if you've done that and you're wondering why has performance dropped, trust me, revert back. In this this campaign or account that I just inherited or won, I noticed the previous agency actually did that. And they segmented out an ad group into another campaign. And when you had a look at period and period, when that ad group was in the campaign, the first campaign with all the other services, it actually performed better than when it got segmented out because the data was now distributed, right? It was segmented out, and it actually stuffed things up. So yeah, I've definitely been talking for a bit, so I'm probably gonna end it here, but I hope that helped. The main point that I wanted to get across is don't go and just restructure an entire account. Like, believe me, don't do it. I've done it so many times and it never works. It never works. What you want to do is you want to gradually structure things out. Gradually, have a plan. Don't just go and pause everything and restructure everything or relaunch everything. It won't work. If you want to get to an end goal of a structure, gradually transition there by keeping what's working and over time pausing what isn't working and adding new things. Don't do it at once. Do it gradually. Monitor the uplift in performance or drop in performance and go from there. If you have a campaign that's working, keep it. Remove the poor performing keywords over time and see the impact that it has. If it's a service that you want to add the service maybe, in month 2 and see how that goes. But don't make a million changes. Don't add that new service as a campaign or even as an ad group and then make a million other changes at the same time, because then you don't know what actually made the difference. Add the new service. Wait, see what happens. If it goes well, fantastic. If it doesn't go well, then regroup, right? But the point is you want to gradually make changes, especially if you win a new account. Don't just go, trust me, don't just go and just absolutely just sporadically restart everything. It will stuff you up. Trust, it will stuff you up. I promise that. All right. So remember, a campaign with a lot of data that is poorly structured, or an account that is poorly structured with a lot of data, will always outperform a very well structured account with zero data. And that's the point. Cool. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.